to explore one phrase, one aspect of being a retail worker, or maybe not even just limited to retail. Maybe this happens in every industry, but I only have experience in the retail industry. And that is this whole culture that we have built up about the customer is always right. And I wanted to have an open discussion about this and see if you guys agree or have a disagreement with anything that I'm about to present in here. So I remember that recently I walked into a store that had a gigantic sign like on the wall that's opposite to the registers. So that means that when you're standing in the line and you're about to check out, if you look up ever so slightly, you will see the sign with the rules of the store that will say something like, the customer is always right. And then number two is like, the customer is wrong sometimes. And then the third one goes, read number one again. The customer is always right. And I was kind of horrified by that because I feel like that is trying to encourage a certain pattern of behavior from a consumer that may not be what you as a business desire. For me personally, with this customer is always right. When I am a customer, I never ever go anywhere and walk in there feeling like I'm the center of the universe. I know that me having chosen to conduct business in a specific place is something that the business is going to be grateful for I am bombarded with options even online, but I decided to shop at this particular place. But just because I decided to head into this place doesn't mean that in order for me to feel valued, you have to give me this crazy customer experience, because to me it may seem like it's a little pushy. But the only time I ever go up to customer service to perhaps do anything remotely resembling a complaint is when I know for a fact I can confirm and I can perhaps bring evidence with me that say your sign is wrong. I am going to the register and you say your thing is $5, but I'm about to pay 10. I want to understand why. It is so seldom that that happens that I can only vividly remember two memories of this happening to me. And it also helps that I am not someone who shops often. I just buy what's absolutely necessary for me. And if I'm going to spoil myself with something, I go for it when it's on sale, if it's something that's more costly than I'm comfortable with spending. But even if I had a dissent with what I am being charged for a product, for me, the best solution is to simply not buy it. If I am upset about how much something costs, unless it's something like, wow, the business greed is very evident, I talk with my money. No amount of me loving something, liking something, yearning for something, wanting something so bad is going to make me bend my values. So if I cannot really, really value something enough to be like, oh, I'm going to make this incredible sacrifice and spend so much on something so basic and unfulfilling, by me establishing those values, I think that's why I can be a pretty down to earth customer. But the only time I will feel a little upset is if the say if I'm at checkout and for some reason I have to go to a human cashier who is not very enthusiastic about what they're doing, then I can become that one customer who's going to like internally fuss at you for your poor performance, because I work in the industry, so I know how to treat people. And I'm just hoping for the day that someone will put henceforth the effort on me that I put onto others. So by me being a worker, I have raised the bar a little too high sometimes, where I think, wow, I want for people to treat me the way that I treat people when I do customer service, which is I really go above and beyond. And if I could record myself in the line of duty, I would show it to you guys so that you guys can see what it is that I'm talking about. But when it comes to the customer, it's always right. My biggest concern, my biggest worry is the kind of mentality that this seems to plant on people. And that is the sense of entitlement. Like the customer is always right has become so ingrained in our culture that that even comes up in arguments when you're dealing with a customer during customer service. They'll, at some point, when they know that they're not getting their way, even if you can prove to them that you are wrong without actively telling them that they're wrong, they'll say, but the customer is always right. But aren't you supposed to be pleasing me because I'm the one who's spending money here? You're supposed to want to make it work for me. So, unfortunately, people do not know how to handle that type of thing psychologically. So I feel like we are breeding people into being unreasonable and difficult to deal with. And while I understand that you want to please a customer when they come to your shop so that maybe they'll tell one person about an amazing experience, but they'll tell 10 people about an awful experience, that's just human nature. You want to avoid that as much as possible. You shouldn't be afraid of that. You shouldn't cultivate a culture of let's make the person know that we will always accommodate them because we're so afraid of losing their business because that extra dollar is so vital for us. Some people, unfortunately, do not know how to handle that. And I think that it is our responsibility to be equipped with the skills on how to dissent with the customer. I shouldn't have to fear being penalized because I'm able to reasonably speak to a customer, even with all the respect, they'll still act up. And one of the things that frustrates me the most is that the customer can decide to be offended when you prove to them that they are wrong, because this has happened to me. I was just gently, calmly explaining to someone how something works at our store and how I could understand why she gets confused, because even I, as an employee, get confused by the process sometimes. And she was putting words in my mouth. She was saying that I was saying that she was stupid. And I said, I would never call someone stupid unless we are tight, unless you are a family member, or unless you're that one friend that we all greet with an insult. I don't know if you guys do that, but I personally do that. You know, I grew up with a bunch of trolls around me, so I learned to be integrated into the troll culture. But with a customer, there are some lines that I just would never cross and I would not allow you to cross. One of them is attempting to discuss my personal life, attempting to flirt with me, just anything that goes beyond the realm of my professional manifestation. You are not authorized to go there with me, no matter how friendly, how kind, how sweet, how nice you're trying to be. When I'm on the clock, do not interact with me unless it is something business related. Even if you know that I have, I don't know, a sick family member that you happen to have heard about, unless we know each other very well outside of that realm, in that edifice, do not bring that mess up. I don't care how you heard about it, but do not get involved in that. So with the customer is always right. I absolutely abhor that, and I wish that we could do something about eradicating, promoting that from everywhere, because as much good as you think you're doing, I think that you're doing a lot of damage, because once again, psychologically, you are breeding monsters. Eventually, this customer is going to turn into that one person who comes back every single day, and they know that if they create a scene or are very close to creating a scene, you will be intimidated into succumbing to what it is that they want to avoid that negative perception. I personally, I'm indestructible when it comes to how much tolerance I have. You can be threatening, you can be loud, you can be, as long as you don't fucking touch me or assault me, like say attempt to, nobody has ever done this fortunately, but say attempt to like spit on me or threaten me with like violence and actually perform the gesture that you're about to like hit me or something. No amount of you yelling and wailing and crying and stomping your feet and screaming intimidates me, because unfortunately for you, I grew up in an environment where I built up tolerance for loud noises and angry people because I had to. So that kind of shit does not intimidate me. So do not try to show a lot of emotion, because I am numb to the emotions displayed by others. I guess you could say I lack empathy for physical emotions. And especially if I know that you're creating a scene when it's unnecessary, and you're probably doing that for me to get me to pity you and give in to doing something for you. Try to get someone else to deal with you who may feel the pressure of making stuff work with you, because with me, that shit ain't working. You know, I know how to follow instructions. I know how to obey the rules. I know how to read. And I know that the first thing that I learn is the thing that I will perform forever. Like, if I go into my work and my supervisor gave me one set of instructions, that one set of instructions, until you tell me that there's something else that you want me to focus on, I will stick to those instructions until my very last minute, depending on my role. If I have a static role, like say I have to be at the cash register, there's not a whole lot of flexibility there. So if those are my instructions, I stick to that. But if I'm sort of in a floating role, I know how to break away from that. And, I'm like, call it fire at will. That's pretty much what I'm doing. But if you try to be manipulative because you come to the store with like that mindset of there's no way that anybody is going to not let me have things my way unless you're trying to return an empty bottle of like medicine or something, and you're like, this medicine did not work out for me, I want a $50 refund on this, that's not gonna work. So just don't do that, miss. But it's unbelievable that people will try to do that, and they will say, well, I'm telling you, this didn't work for me, and therefore I am deserving of having a refund. And I'm there to tell you that I'm sorry, but that's not how this works. So is there a way for us to perhaps create a system in which we can interact with people to train them into walking into a store with the expectation of you're not going to get your way always, especially if you're being unreasonable, but know that we will acknowledge you and hear what you have to say. But it doesn't mean that we will be able to financially accommodate you. Say, if you're complaining that the places are high, just know that there are alternative places for you to go shop at that may offer the prices that you're looking for. It takes work. You may need to go online. You may need to plan ahead so that if you're shopping online, that stuff has time to be delivered to your home. Or you may need to walk the extra mile, drive the extra mile, or if you have public transport or something, you may need to do extra arrangements to get to your destination that better suit your budget. But do not try to go to just one place because you're lazy and lack problem solving skills, and you want for one place to be your miracle place where you can go for everything and get the best bargain price, especially if it's a price that doesn't do price matches. But just stop trying to inconvenience others because you lack like skills to better your life, to you feel like your life is complicated. It can be complicated. Life can be intimidating and it can be stressful, and there's stuff that I wish I didn't have to spend time on. But take the time to get to know your resources, and then your resources will start working for you as opposed to you working for them. That's the way I see life. But me, the only time I feel like I'm an entitled customer is when I can prove to you that yes, your system is faulty. You are ringing me up for the wrong amount. And I know that it's not the associate who is assisting me, it's not their fault. But at least I have a very kind way of letting them know. And sometimes I realize that it's because the sticker is expired. So what I do is I let them know, hey, this is still saying that it's on sale, but I just now noticed that the date had expired. And they 100% of the time they say, you know what, that is not your fault. I'm sorry that this happened. We will honor it, even though it's expired. And then when it comes to that, I'm like, oh, I appreciate it, because matter of factly, I was picking this up because I was under the impression that it was on sale. But I'm not going to look at the date, like the how long the promotion is good for, because I'm here today. If I see it today, I'm gonna get it today. I'm not the kind of shopper who's like, how long is the sale running for, so that I can come back and get some more or whatever. No, I have my money there and I'm ready to do everything in one trip, because I tend to shop just once a week. But yeah, you guys, that's pretty much it when it comes to this. My concern about the customer is always right. Like, I think it does more harm than good. I can see why companies want to promote that, which is no matter what, make the customer happy so that they know that they can always come to us and we'll have their back. But what the people who make that rule don't realize is that you don't work 8 hours a day with your customers because you're in some office, perhaps in another state, headquarters, making decisions, and you do not consult the people who actually do this job so that we can voice our concerns about the potential problems that this may bring until the disaster starts striking. Stop experimenting and instead include the people who are not present at your meetings, I guess. Try to include at least one representative, or hell, include a customer here and there so that you can get feedback on what it is that they actually want. Because sometimes I feel like we're trying to turn shopping something that's memorable when it shouldn't be. It's just something to satisfy your needs and wants. And I think by us spoiling people, we are creating unrealistic expectations that must be consistently met, or else these people are going to see their days ruined for some reason. And I think that that is depriving people from developing problem solving skills, which is, sure, the store didn't have sugar. Well, how about if I try another kind of sugar? As opposed to, oh, if I don't find what it is that I'm looking for, I cannot get creative in the kitchen. Or say, if you're looking for a white t-shirt, but all they have is a v-neck shirt, you can be like, oh, goddamn, it's cold outside. How about if I conceal the fact that it's a v-cut with a scarf or something? Find solutions, but just don't like see your life crumbling because the sole idea that you had in your mind could not be fulfilled. That is the aspect of me that makes me lack empathy for people. But anyways, you guys, that's pretty much my rambling. I'm gonna catch up with the comments, see what you guys are saying. Art student says hi. ARN says hi. And Zamri, would you move states for a job? No. I think I may have a shopping addiction. You guys probably know this, but if you don't know this, probably you haven't been in the channel long enough. But the shopping addiction that I can claim to have is food, of course, which I like to just experiment, try different brands, different versions of the same thing. or restaurants. That's why I said, man, as much time and money as I'm spending exploring foods, I might as well start vlogging about it. But the one thing that I truly, truly, truly waste money on that I wish I didn't is stupid leggings. And I still have not forgotten that I have that video pending. But I just don't understand why it is that I have not satisfied myself with those, although I have over 100 of them. And recently I discovered a brand, well, not so recently, but there's this one brand that I just cannot stop trying their stuff because all that they have is so good. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be my last one. This is going to be my last one, my last pair, the last purchase I make, at least for a very long time. But there I am every week purchasing something. So I used to feel very guilty about that, but now I don't, because I realized that I work really hard and I worked so much just to focus on bills. And I always wondered, I'm young. When will I ever do something fun? When will I be able to invest on me? Unfortunately, I'm not someone who is really difficult to maintain. Like, I'm not high maintenance at all, but I was just miserable that I could never spoil myself with anything. I would look at the stuff that I had and I'm like, at least I'm not someone who hoards things. I don't have bullshit. The most I have of is clothes. But of course, I'm also trying to have a business in which I sell clothes. So it would be nice for me to familiarize myself with different styles. And now it's gotten to the point where I can see something from a distance and I'm pretty good at guessing what the material is. Pretty good at guessing even what the brand is, which is something I never imagined that I would do before. And another thing is I've been learning fashion vocabulary. I had no idea everything had names. Like, describe the parts of a sandal. There's the upper, there's the insole, the outer sole, there's the incline that the heel may have. Is it flat? Is it really tall? All those things. I never thought about it. I just looked at it as flip-flops, tennis shoes, sandals. That was it. And then boots, of course. But there is so much. And I realized that I was very ignorant at it. So I just said, let me challenge myself with this unlikely thing for me to have interest in. And now when I look at leggings, I know exactly the kind of leggings that are going to make me happy, which ones are less likely to be see-through. And it just makes me proud because when it comes to skills like that, I always feel like I've never developed those. I am someone who cannot like stitch back together holes on a shirt, holes on pants. I don't think I'll go as far as learning that, but I wanted to learn something that's relatively practical. And I said, as a woman, I guess my interest needs to be on fashion somewhere, but at least I can say I have tried. But leggings are the one thing that I can really, really not stop myself from wasting money in. But at least I could be wasting money on other stupid things like nails, nail polish, makeup, and things that really don't enhance much. Whereas leggings, it's something that you buy it once and until you wear it to the last thread, it doesn't go bad on you. Whereas makeup, it expires, nail polish expires, all that stuff is damaging for your skin. And if I'm someone who's athletic, why would I not want to invest on athletic gear? And leggings is something that you can wear as base layer when it's cold. You can wear to sort of just lounge at home, or you can wear it to go out and wear it to exercise. So it's something incredibly versatile that I know I will need for the rest of my life. So why not go ahead and get it over with? So I understand what you're saying when it comes to being addicted to shopping. But for me, it seems to be leggings. Leggings is the one thing that I just have very little willpower to avoid. And at this point, I have stopped limiting myself. I feel like the more I tell myself, this is going to be the last one that I buy for a long time, I'm going to buy 5 more. So at least I have created some kind of discipline of, let me justify why I'm purchasing this. Is it because it's a different color? It's a different brand? It's a different material? It's a different cut? What about it? And if I cannot check off on all of those, I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it. But yeah, I'm terrible about it. Did you ever watch that Peter Schiff I recommended to you a while back? What was it about? Was it the one about that one rich guy? Um he was like some kind of CEO, and then he was talking to like minority people, like minority being people who don't have as much money, and then why having money is like demonized or something. Occupy Wall Street. I think that was it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was it. I know that it had this CEO guy in it, and he was like in some New York street, and there was like a lot of people coming to him. And he said that he's from the people who run businesses. So he was representing that rich CEO, and then random folks were asking him questions. Something like that. I know I watched it. It's been a minute now. um, Not sure why, but the all the fitting rooms in Michigan are closed. Here, we have had some gyms go extreme, and they don't even have their locker rooms open all the way. It's like maybe you have every 3 lockers or so are available, and then they're scattered throughout the room, something crazy. So maybe like 10 lockers out of out of 50 are available. Not very good, but then there's also the showers. I can understand why the showers would be locked, but I think it's been taken to another extreme, because I have gone to gyms where the showers are open, and I do not feel like I have to fear the thing that's going around, and I'm still here living and breathing and functioning properly. So I think that when it comes to the situation, some stuff is kind of reaching, but when it comes to fitting rooms, my concern would be, if you try something on and you're not gonna buy it, does it get sanitized immediately? Because let me tell you, there are some disgusting human beings out there, and there's just no telling how much someone is sweating. When was the last time someone took a shower, and they're trying clothes to be put back, and then, I think that is a hygienic problem, if I think about it critically. But I think that even before the situation going on right now was happening, that's still something that was taking place. You could have that filthy human coming in trying your clothes, and they're going to be put back immediately. So are we really winning? I think that the habits that are being established during that situation is something that human beings should have been doing forever. Did we not learn from that bubonic plague, ages ago, that if you don't take sanitation seriously, bad stuff happens? So I don't know what to tell you about that one. I feel like, yes, this thing is dangerous, but some things are a little too extreme. And as much as I want to be a little annoyed by that, I remember that there's people out there who just have no fucking common sense. And then it passes me. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to be upset. This needs to happen to teach some people patience, dedication, and to not be a fucking filthy human being. But for the rest of us who have a sense of being clean and considerate and all that, it can look as an inconvenience for us because it's not a lesson that we need. It's something that we have been practicing. But yeah, a part of me is like, I'm ready for this to end, but I'm also afraid that as soon as it ends, not that we'll go back to normal, like we knew things to be normal, but that the good discipline that is being created a little bit currently is going to just disappear. And at some point, it'll be a matter of time before we're back to where we're at, you know? What did you think of the video? I remember what I felt about the video, which was, gee, this guy really has a point. But then there's that side of me who wants to side with like the other folks because I simply do not have an ambitious mind when it comes to having power through owning assets. Like, say, if you have a business and you're a CEO, you're an influential person, you have like power and a say in politics, and people will look up to you and respect you better just because of your status that you have bought. Unfortunately, I, as an individual, am not impressed by that. And let me tell you guys a story that I'm gonna try to keep as brief as possible. I used to have a godfather. And I say I used to have because he wasn't legally my godfather in the way that godfathers can be. Like, this man really wanted to go through the legal process of being my godfather. But I already have one. So my mom said, I don't know how that works. I don't know if you can. She already has one. But if you want to try something, go ahead. I don't care. This guy meant well in every sense of the word when I was in high school. Like, I was 15, 16, 17. From ages like 14 through 18, he was there for me, supportive, wanted to inculcate in me how to be ahead of the game and all those things. But we had a severe clash, which was he wanted for me to aspire for things that I was not interested in. Like, he always said, oh, I want to see Dr. Zam. He knew that I was interested in the sciences. And yes, I do like the medical field, but I never saw myself as someone wanting to exercise as a surgeon or something, like a medical practitioner. I contemplated becoming a heart surgeon. I said, I really like the heart as an organ because I look at it as the engine for your body. It's the one organ that I can actively interact with, which is when I run, I can feel it pounding, all that type of thing. My biggest mistake was telling that man that I liked the sciences because he was really trying to push the college bull crap on me. He was trying to push me to aspire for like PhDs and everything. And I said, you're not listening to me. Another thing he did was we went to visit a friend of his who had gone to Harvard, and he was living by the beach in this 3-story house and had a bunch of cars and even smoked cigars and whatever the hell. And then he took me there with the intent to influence me into admiring that. And it got bad because he introduced me to this person and he was like, so she has a question about that. And he was pointing to the plaque where the degree was being displayed. And I said, sorry, what? Oh, the Harvard degree. I know you wanted to ask about it. And I said, no, I don't. You know, I wasn't playing the game. I was like, no, I don't. That was you trying to speak for me. And then the guy was like, nothing to it. It's just something that allowed me to get a job. It was like that so-called MBA, business administration degree, whatever the hell. And then he gave us a tour throughout the house. You know, my house has an elevator. My shower has water coming from all directions, and from my iPad I can control the volume in whatever room I'm in, little things like that. And then we conversed for a bit, and then I explained how I wasn't interested in anything too wild. I just wanted to be able to survive and perhaps retire at some point, but I wasn't really aspiring for material things or status. It's not something in me. And then on our drive back home from that place, my godfather was really, 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 really trying to like bug me about it. He was like, try to guess how much his house is worth. And I said, I don't know, but it probably exceeds the 500,000. Definitely exceeds it. I don't know about real estate. I've never owned a house. I've never asked about house prices because I really do not aspire for a house because I know I'm going to be a nomad for a long time. I know my status, I know my place, and I know that the decisions I'm making are not going to enable me to think about homes for a long time. He didn't like that answer. He was like, well, I think it's at least $1 million. And I'm like, you're probably right. Good. And then he was like, do you have anything else that you want to comment on? And I'm like, no, you brought this conversation up. And as someone who is disinterested or uninterested, I don't have anything to say. And he kept insisting and trying to look for ways for me to say something and ways and just bombarding me about it. And I'm like, look, man, if this is the conversation that you want to have, I want you to know that I'm not interested. I have nothing to say. I wasn't paying much attention, which I really wasn't. The only thing I remembered was that ridiculous elevator inside the house, that ridiculous shower with like water coming out of every direction, and the fact that this is a 3-story house for like 3 people living in the house. I don't get it. And then he continued on and he said, well, at some point you need to make decisions so that you can be at least financially stable. And I said, I know that financial stability is important, but I don't want for my youth to be absorbed by 4 walls and for me to be looking like I'm 50 years old when I'm only 30 because I have more stress than I can manage. And the stress that I am taking on is not for things that I actually desire. It's because of the way the society that immediately surrounds me is designed to believe the definition of success is represented by. And I said, hey, I know that you personally are materialistic. You like to live in houses. You have never wanted an apartment, and you always like to pimp up your houses, even though you know that you realistically cannot afford it because you have debt, but you like to pretend that everything is all right. Do not try to inculcate in me to be a woman who wants material things. If I wanted material things, I would be getting them, no matter how long it takes. But if I'm telling you that stuff does not interest me, leave me the fuck alone. And unfortunately, that was among the last conversations I had with this individual. Because after that, I made it a point to avoid him. Because one night, he was really bugging me about what I'm going to do about college. And I said, I'm tired of telling you. It's been 4 years now. I am not going to college. And he kept saying, but you have to go because you need to secure a job. Da, 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 da. And I said, I am not going. You know, I don't have a way to afford it. I don't want to deal with, say, I can get one scholarship, but then the rest is going to be debt. You see all these people, all those trends, especially now with what's happening in the world, people concerned about cancel student debt and this and that. Can you be proud that I made decisions that protected me from being worried about that shit? I can be so happy right now that I don't owe thousands of dollars of payments. Like, I can afford to not have to work my ass off insanely doing a job that I hate for insane hours. I don't have to beat myself up because I made good decisions. Sometimes making good decisions is not acting on something, it's avoiding to act on something. So by me avoiding to act on college, look at the many headaches that I saved myself because I probably would still be dealing with student debt that I cannot manage. And on top of that, I was never someone who was fully decided on what I wanted to do. I have always expressed that I am interested in the natural sciences. That is my absolute passion in life. But just because I am interested in that does not mean that I want to be a geologist. It does not mean I want to be a meteorologist. It does not mean I want to actually work in the field of science. And that is okay. It's okay for me to be a fanatic of something, but I'm tired of telling you there is not a single career out there that I can think of that I can go to school for, to specialize in, and be like, yes, I am going to school because this is the job that I want. That never happened to me. And I am not going to go to college, take on debt, to then suddenly be like, oh my God, I hate what I'm doing because I made a terrible decision. I was undecided, but I was told, get a degree because the degree shows that you can be taught. I don't care. Someone out there is going to dare to give me an opportunity, open the door for me, and be like, you know what? I have put people with the so called degree in this position, and they were not that good. Whereas I'm willing to invest in you to obtain the skill, or perhaps show the skill that you may not be accredited for, but you possess. And I'm going to take my chances and give you the opportunity. And I end up being a better performer than the person who had status because they have the little degree. If there's a person out there who functions like that, I will meet my safe haven, my safe heaven, or whatever, my safe space, going to work for that person. But if I go somewhere because my degree got me in, I think that is a terrible mistake because I have been surrounded by people who are so called degree holders and they're the biggest fuck ups I know in my life. Is that what I'm supposed to be proud of? How about if you're proud of me and celebrate me for the good decisions I have taken? Some of you have to rush through school and get a degree because you made a mistake, which is becoming a parent when you were not ready, and you're hoping that by getting a degree and taking on more debt to afford that debt of having a child and now the debt of your student loans, that's going to give you a better life. But then you realize that you cannot deal with the stress, you cannot handle it, and it is okay for you to not be able to handle it because human beings are not designed to be putting up with that bullshit. Can you celebrate me for being able to think? And what about the many ways that exist in present day for you to make good ass money that does not involve you going to college ever? How many millionaires have not made their millions on the stupid internet? That's not what I'm aiming for. But I know that the internet can be a resource to aid and supplement your income. And now, little by little, everything is shifting online anyway. So, unfortunately, his advice was outdated. For his time, this is a man from the 1950s. He had a great time. He could go to college. He didn't have to worry about how to pay for it. He did not have to worry about debt haunting him. He had like a economic stability at some point because of the times that he was living in. For me, that is not my case. And he had some level of family support. I have nothing. The only thing I have is my mom, and my mom needs me as much as I need her in some instances. So you cannot be giving me solutions that I cannot apply without suffering consequences that are more harmful than good. In the same manner that you have that motherfucking person in your life, probably, whom you have heard, who says, if you don't like it where you're at, why do you still work there? The people who say that are the people who lack the skills, resourcefulness, or leadership skills to advise you on how to come up with a plan to help you improve your life situation. They just want to get rid of you because they themselves are not good at what they do. I'm not that person. I've never told someone, well, if you don't like the way we do things here, you can always leave. What I do is, look, I'm sorry that you're having a bad day. I know it sucks. I have been there, and this is how I cope with it. Did you know that we have company resources for you to deal with this if it's becoming overwhelming? Here's a course that you could take. Just refer people to the adequate resources if you are not a good resource yourself. But we all as Americans are fucking prideful, and we like to talk out our ass and let our pride speak for us, which is, oh, well, I'm in this management position. I was able to make it. You can make it too. And I'm like, you don't understand that not all of us have the same opportunities that you do. If we were all in the same playing field, we would not have so many disparities, you know? That's just the way it is. So what I want to illustrate with me sharing the story is that if you're someone who feels like you don't have a path laid out for you, just have faith and do not pressure yourself or rush yourself, or much less allow for someone else to pressure you into doing something, because usually you will regret it. And fortunately for me, because I heard so many of other people's experiences with something like that, I said, I hope that I am good at identifying when someone is meaning well, but regardless, it's not the best path for me. And that is what I'm proud of, because looking back, I considered succumbing to the pressure of, yeah, maybe I should go to college. But if I had that debt to juggle with right now, who knows? What if I would have had a decent job, and that my job would have been one of those so-called decent jobs that actually got lost during this situation that we're living in? I would be probably stressed, sweating, frustrated, depressed, trying to figure out how to remain responsible while, you know, bills are not stopping and everybody else is. Have you noticed how everybody else seemed to have aged by like 10 years during all of this? Yes, we're living in stressful times, but this messed you up to the point that you either gained too much weight or lost too much weight, or your face is like you're not getting your sleep, you're not resting and everything. I can go to bed and have a bad night sleeping due to medical reasons, but I wake up from whatever little bit of sleep it is that I get, and I can still function. I can still speak coherently. I can still have energy to do things that are hobbies, or come home and do, you know, home stuff, as opposed to I'm too tired, or my schedule broke me, or I'm just not in the mood for this or that. Me saying I'm not in the mood for something is usually once a week, and it's because something extreme has to happen that like piles up with what I had in my agenda, and I'm like, I'm a human being, there's only so much I can handle. It's okay for me to not be Wonder Woman at everything. But that's what I would like to see. Like, I want for people to respect other people's paths being different from theirs. And if we do not aspire to be as ambitious as you are, especially if it's ambitiousness for assets, financial stuff, material things, do not look at the person who does not aspire for that stuff as inferior. Look at them as that person who, kind of like in relationships, you think that every human being ever is looking for that romantic partner. Not everyone has a romantic side. Not everyone is looking to spend their rest of their lives with that happily ever after ending. Some people genuinely like to be alone. Some people genuinely like to not own a lot of things. Some people genuinely like to not work a lot. Some people genuinely like to live a minimalistic lifestyle. You could classify me as a minimalist, except for leggings, because I will have my 500 leggings, 1,000 leggings. I will never stop buying leggings. But when it comes to everything else, I'm not aspiring for furniture. I don't feel like I need to upgrade my car. I had to upgrade my phone because my other one just wasn't loading stuff right. But if it were up to me, everything that I own, I will use until its last breath. I'm not that person rushing to like the Apple store, or, you know, I'm not as immersed as a gamer as I used to be, but I'm not the one thinking about the little ass PS5. And even if you were to prove to me that it's an amazing thing to own, I still don't feel impressed by it, you know? So I genuinely am not impressed by those things. The things that tend to impress me are character traits. Like, say, you're someone who does very well under pressure. You can face things and maintain your cool. You really hold it together in the midst of adversity. You are eloquent. You are well spoken. You are perseverant. You know how to make plans. You offer good advice. Those things impress me. Lately, we have hired a couple of people who I was shooketh I could sustain a full, mature conversation with. And I said, I am so proud of you. You have not been corrupted by what's cool and popular that this society promotes. That to me was amazing. I was impressed by that. I wasn't impressed by what the person was wearing, and it's not that they had a terrible outfit or anything. It's just something I do not pay attention to. And I had the best time of my life getting to meet these new people who happened to have a personality that was compatible with mine after a long ass time of me being socially deprived of quality interactions. That is where my happiness came from. Not even my phone, when I upgraded it, brought me that much joy. So, with that in mind, that is why I say I feel like I cannot be corrupted into those things. So when I watched that video about occupying Wall Street, I really hope I watched the right one. But I looked at it as I can see why the powerful person finds that stuff important. But as someone who did not grow up with those values inculcated in me, even though I was surrounded by them, it's just hard for me to imagine a life in which traveling more, owning things, having power, having money to the point that I don't have to work and feel like I need to be productive in my community. I still like to be useful. And I know that when you have resources, you can make yourself useful. But I don't want to just be like, sure, I'll sign up for this charity and give a random sum of money and then be like, hey, I contributed. My money did it for me. I want to be able to show up. If I'm going to be a benefactor, it's like, okay, if I'm going to give to St. Jude, let me actually physically visit this hospital and get to know the lives, the faces that I'm actually aiding with my contribution. As opposed to, well, I'm too busy to ever visit or drop by, or, I like for my involvement in the community to have meaning and for people to actually get to talk to me. In the same manner that you, as a customer, if you have a major problem with a product, and your base level associates cannot do anything for you, you would probably escalate it as you should. Like, say, if you're expecting to pay $100 for your cell phone bill and it's $300 and you don't understand why, I would hope that you escalate that. That's reasonable. So, see what I mean, guys? It's difficult to put into words what it is like that I view the world as. And I have also had so many like close encounters with like catastrophe that having an unstable life does not intimidate me. Even though sometimes I'm wake up and I'm like, I am tired of my slavery, working borderline minimum wage and things like that. But I'm thinking, what the hell do I want to strive for? How is having more money going to make me feel better? And unfortunately, I have not been able to answer that question in a satisfactory way. Maybe I am not designed to have my finances together. And maybe the the time will come again and I'll end up homeless like I was for a brief period of time some years ago. If that happens, I have had the experience. I know exactly what to do so that I can survive, take care of myself, and stay healthy as much as possible. But I just cannot imagine a life in which I'm working full time, my health is declining, my youth is being stolen from me, and then what I bring home is actually something that leaves me feeling empty. Imagine working 8 to 12 hours. Do you really enjoy what you're working for? Or are you just like, I gotta do this for 5 years until I make this amount of money and then I can move on to better things? What is moving on to better things? What I like to do is go with the flow. Whatever it is, the way I manifest is everything that I have ever needed in my life has been supplied to me when the time is right. Whereas if I had a solution for everything and didn't have to plan for it and wait for it and have faith that it'll happen, I don't think I could be fulfilled. So maybe my, I guess, let's call it my religious beliefs is what keeps me from progressing in the eyes of everybody else. Well, guess what? I'm not the one who's struggling severely with mental health. Like, the only times I have struggled with it was when I was being emotionally abused by people close to me, and I did not want to acknowledge that these people were being harmful for me. But once I took care of that, I've been all right. I've been fine. I've been living my best days. Even though you guys know that I'm barely here on the channel because of the shitty schedule I have. But at least I can say at the end of the day, I come home and I am peaceful. For a long time, I did not have peace. My entire adolescence and my entire early 20s, I had no peace whatsoever. But then these last few years, it's been amazing. So when I have experience with this about the decisions I have made, and I see everyone else who tried to influence me otherwise, I'm thinking, what are you so stressed about? Oh, because you have more mouths to feed. You have kids. Oh, well, sucks to be you. I have made the sacrifice of not having kids. Why can you not celebrate that? Why do we need to celebrate the so-called single mother who still goes to school and works and makes ends meet? For some reason, she has more value than me. Why? It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. You can have 20 kids. I don't care. It still doesn't mean that your life is more valuable than mine. I think it's bizarre that we think that mothers just somehow are worth more than childless people. No, fuck you. If we were out in the wilderness, I don't think a bear would choose to maul me because you have to get home to your kids to make sure that, your cubs don't die. No, this motherfucker's gonna try to eat both of us, or if you're closer to it will go after you and savor you. So, you know what I'm saying? I look at life as I'm just a really, really, really tiny dot in this world. And like the planet is ginormous and you wouldn't be able to see me from space. I'm not special. So hopefully that helps clarify what I mean with how a video left me feeling when it comes to like that social difference between I have never been super rich and powerful, so I don't know what it's like to have might. Trust me, when little bits of power have been entrusted to me, like say I have held my mom's credit card, I have had access to other people's bank accounts for me to like manage however I please because they have entrusted me with it. Or, when I was younger, I was a teenager, early 20s and stuff, I never had negative habits. I never was that kid who needed to be out partying or say I needed name brand things or whatever they're called, fancy things. I am confident in who and what I am. The other day, when Kim Kardashian was trending because of her birthday party, people were saying, oh, why aren't people mad? If you all were in her position, you would be doing the same thing, renting a private island to have a party. Even if the world is suffering, don't be jealous of her success and her resourcefulness and her privilege because, she has resources. She lives the lives that she wants. And I said, what you don't understand is that not everybody thinks like that. Even if I had her resources, I know for a fact I wouldn't be throwing a party because I don't party. I'm antisocial. So I can tell you for a fact that I wouldn't spend millions of dollars on a stupid party, especially during a time like this. So you need to get in my mind to know what I would do if I had that much money. And I can guarantee you that partying and owning private planes and fancy cars is not going to be it. Because those things do not impress me, you know? So, anyways, you guys, when it comes to that, I'll always sort of look at being rich is cool, it's nice and all. It gives you opportunities. It's great. I'm not going to sit here and be like, there's no way that having money is going to not contribute any happiness to your life. I know that that's not correct. But what I can tell you is that even if you're living at a bare minimum, that is not the definition of misery. I think the definition of misery is living a lifestyle that is unsuitable for you. And I can say that the lifestyle that I am living is 1,000% suitable for me. And it took me a long time to think about how it is that I can achieve this. And it wasn't easy because I had a lot of anxiety over it for a long time. I think I'm making a mistake. Maybe I'm going to regret this. But even if I were 40 years old and I'm still in my same position, I'll be like, I have been enjoying the ride. And I have a channel, say, I can sit here, make a video about, you know what, guys? Back in 2020, I was wrong about this. I wish I would have acted on this promo. I wish I would have done this or that. Or maybe I'll be like, you guys, I'll be saying the same thing I said a moment ago. You guys, I am so fucking glad I didn't do this and that because look at how the world changed. I would have been fucked, you know? So life is a gamble. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way. Nobody should have anxiety over will you eat or will you show up to work sick because you cannot afford to lose those hours, whatever. Just trust yourself. And if you're not a religious person, I respect that. But just know that for some of us, it really helps us. Because for me, ever since I decided to be like, I'm going to leave it in the hands of whatever entity is out there who is truly in charge of everything that happens here, I've been a whole lot happier. It's allowed me to live a carefree life. And I had no idea that I was making myself anxious with petty things. Just play the game however you see it suitable. If you feel like you cannot be happy living a modest life, then don't do it. Go wreck yourself in college and get all these degrees or try to open as many businesses as you can, whatever it is that will get you there. But please, in the future, do not complain about all the time that you lost, how tired you are, how, I don't know, mentally you're dealing with a bunch of issues because you decided to not think it through. Like, what are the consequences of my ambitions? What are the consequences of not being ambitious? Just be honest with yourself. I would marry you, Zambri. Sometimes when I read people say that, I get worried because I'm thinking, I think I'm presenting myself as too much of a valuable person when I'm really not. And maybe you would discover that I'm the worst person ever. I thought about turning on my light and I keep forgetting that the seasons have changed. So even if it's like 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., it's not going to be bright until that late. So sorry, I know it's getting dark here. Where am I at? Shoot, I lost my place. Peter Schiff has his criticisms, but the guy has great points. If anything, he is being proven right at the moment. I hope you have diversified portfolios. If you mean when it comes to work, hell no. Zamri, have you ever visited another country? Unfortunately, I have not. My brother, though, he's been to Japan, and he says it is like living. Well, I guess it depends on where you go, but it's like living in an anime because they really, really, really love to like push that. I guess it's because that has influenced the world so much. Like, we all feel like we're experts of Japanese culture just from the little shows that we watch and things. But he really wants me to go out there and explore it so bad. But for me personally, my concern would be the language. I feel like I have no business being stranded somewhere if I don't have a way to independently manifest, you know? I don't want to have to rely on an interpreter. And are you kidding me? The signs, they have completely different ways of writing, you know, an alphabet that's nothing like ours. So it's not like I can have any hope of like helping myself. Yeah, no, it intimidates me. So unless I have a plan on how I can make this work out, I'm okay staying on the east coast of the USA. I have no business going anywhere else. What did you think of the video? Okay, that's what I answered. What are you looking forward to in the next year? Honestly, my life has been pretty much the same from, I want to say, from the moment I graduated from high school up until this point, and that was a long ass time ago. So I sincerely never wait for a year or a time in the calendar for me to determine to try something. It's like on December the 31st, I know that January the 1st is going to be very similar to my previous day. So if I want to do something or feel like trying something, I start planning for it. And whenever it happens, it happens. It's not like I let the calendar control me too much. The only way the calendar controls me is whatever schedule my job generates, which is ever changing. Every single week, it's different. But if you mean in general, I don't know what to tell you because it's a repetition of previous years, I guess. We all want to live better than we were living this year. Maybe have a little bit more money. Maybe take some time off. Maybe be healthier. Maybe lose some weight. You know, all those things. So when it comes to the new year, I'll just look at it as shit. January, I'll still keep writing 2020 instead of 2021. It takes me like 2 months to get adjusted. So I don't know what to tell you, to tell you the truth. I don't have an answer for that question. The problems that we are currently experiencing will still be there. And if you want to talk about politics, I do not think that things are really going to change that drastically under Biden and Harris, especially me as a minority, you know, little brown girl. Like, these people have spoken nothing about our community. So, like, no, I don't think it's going to change much. So, I guess all I have to look forward to is, continuing the flow. And some things may change, at some point. I have no doubt that we'll become a cashless society. If you guys want to talk about that, I can create another stream for that another time. But, nothing really. Nothing really. So it's a tough question every time I get it because I always say the same thing. I have no plan. The situation. Yeah, because, if you're not careful with what you say on YouTube, you may even have your whole thing taken down. We live in such a sensitive time. It's whack. Are you willing to put up with the horrible people of the world knowing that you're one of them, some stoic? I think that you have to be willing to put up with all kinds of people in the world. There's the horrible and there's the non-horrible people. Prepare yourself mentally. That's the best way I can describe it. You just have to not wait for your ideal situation. Like, for instance, my mom. For the longest time, I didn't like her. We used to fight. We used to not get along. We had issues, but at some point, everything became better with her. The folks who I have dated in the past, at some point, I loved them. At some point, I didn't like them so much. At some point, they became strangers. No animosity whatsoever. My daddy, I used to abhor him, detest him, loathe him, everything. At some point, I let go of that mess and I said, I'll start over with him. Give him a new beginning. He has not been interested. I have not been interested. Let it go. His past with me is horrible, but I'm not going to cling to that, like hold on to that. So if it's something that's, what is it, appropriate to continue in my life, I keep it. If not, I discard it. Hopefully that answered the question. I don't believe Peter is that way. He went out there for a multitude of reasons, answering questions, provide perspective on what's going on, etc. Yeah, I think one of the things he did, if I remember right, was he was suggesting things that people could do so that they could end up in his situation. But of course, the matter of the what privilege came up, and the matter of you had opportunities to be educated came up, you know. Um, and honestly, I'm the kind of person who opines that the people who say that type of thing are right. They just do not always know how to communicate it. And what I mean by that is that you have to keep it real. That for some situations that you may find yourself in, you may be responsible based on the decisions that you made along the way. But there's no denying that if you find yourself struggling to achieve little basic milestones, it may be an institutional thing, because there's no denying that this country was founded on some fucked up values. The longer we keep denying that that's the case in 2020, the more prolonged that this issue is going to be. There is discrimination, there is racism, there is prejudice. You cannot deny that. And I am a believer in the so-called Deuteronomy 28 curse. We are probably living that, more than likely. And it makes sense because of the many things that we see and perceive and experience. But I also do not want to permanently be like, I find refuge in the fact that that is true as my permanent excuse to remain a victim. So, once again, some people's opportunities are going to be different because they happen to be at the right place at the right time, or happen to know the right person for the wrong reasons or the right reasons, and that led up to something else, yada yada. Unfortunately, not everybody's going to make it, but you can, it's like probability. If you buy more than one ticket to something, sweepstakes or something, or say the lottery, more than likely you increase your chances of winning. In the same manner that if you make decisions to put you in the path toward whatever success it is that you seek, more than likely you will achieve it. But if you find yourself not succeeding, unfortunately, maybe the institutionalized stuff has something to do. You just focus on doing your best. But whatever you do, fight that battle with dignity. That's all I have to say. So for me personally, yes, I can tell that some things going on with me may have to do with that. But at the same time, I don't want to be like, well, I happen to be a woman and I'm also a brown woman, so like, what chances do I have? Not necessarily. Because if you guys have been paying attention, and I'm sure that I owe meeting some of you guys because of one little video I posted, um, me as a woman, it is possible that some doors will open for me that for other people will not open. What about that? There's a piece of privilege there that I have. I can choose to exploit it, or I can choose to dismiss it entirely and be like, nah, I don't play with demons. But I just want for people to relax. Take it easy. Do your best. It's okay. Do the best that you can with your advantage, or excuse me, with your resources and your surroundings. So, like, use your resources and surroundings to your advantage. That's what I meant to say. And whatever you do, always be patient. Be patient with yourself and be patient with those around you. I find that people are more willing to work with you, even if it's an asshole of a human being. If you kill them with kindness, some of them turn around and they turn out to be the most influential people in your life. So I always believe you just gotta write it out. Don't turn yourself into the monster of the story, and you'll be all right. But I see what you mean. I think Peter is more pragmatic in his perspectives into the approach of life, business, making wealth, etc. Degrees are trash unless you're able to transmute that learned knowledge into success. See, that too. What about the fact that since technology is evolving so rapidly, the stuff that you know today is going to be what's the word? God, it left me. Obsolete. What you get educated on today may be obsolete like 10 years from now. All that time, all that investment, not only do you need time to be a human being, take care of yourself, have fun, raise a family, date, keep up with people, you have to refresh your education. You have to stay on top of it constantly. Who has energy for that? Who wants to have energy like that? Who wants to be dedicated to that? I think we all just want to have a life. And me personally, as passionate as I am about learning and just learning about a little bit of everything in general, even stuff that I'm not interested in, I keep an open mind for. Nobody wants to be like enslaved to that. You gotta remain competitive. You gotta remain relevant. Nobody wants that. That's why I find that hard to empathize and even identify or relate with the people who say they struggle so much with stress. I don't get it. I don't want to say that my ignorance is what keeps me, I guess, peaceful, because let's face it, I should have more skills than what I currently possess. I feel like I don't really have anything valuable to contribute except for my presence in some little building because I happen to be a veteran of the place. So therefore, what I have to offer to the new generation of employees is actually valuable so that they can increase the probability that they will succeed in their roles. But, I just cannot get behind the way things are going because I see that people are getting sicker and going home with so many regrets and dissatisfaction and misery. And I'm thinking, is that what I'm supposed to be jealous of? Is that what I'm supposed to be aspiring for? So I was able to see that disease, put it that way, when I was a teenager. I could see people stressed and overwhelmed and relationships breaking down, families broken, and I knew the root cause of it. People are just fucking tired. People are fucking overwhelmed. But we're not doing anything about it. We are tolerating that emotional and physical abuse. And I'm sitting over here asking myself, Why? Can you truly not escape it, or is it just you're making bad decisions that disable you from being able to at least live a relatively chill life like what I'm living? You know what I mean? So I'm not saying at all, I don't want to be misunderstood, that I think that my way of looking at life is superior. Not at all. It's just that when it comes to your well being, when you go home, how do you feel about the day that you had? And most people usually share with me that they are miserable. I see the solution. I am living in the opposite aspect to what they're living. And I find myself happy. So, because I can say that I am happy with the way things are going for me, for the people who are not happy, I give them feedback to see if I can help them explore a solution within their circumstance that could help them achieve that peaceful. Yeah, I know that my screen is black. I noticed it. I noticed it a few moments ago. It was a mistake to start streaming without the light on. But I'm going to try to remember to stream. Anytime I stream, just leave the light on because this happens often. But anyways, so hopefully you guys see what I mean by that. I remember this one fool. This was back when my channel was newer. He was like leaving a comment telling me she thinks that she is so deep with what she says, and I'm like, why are you saying that I think that I'm deep or something? I never said that. I have never implied that. The literal description of my channel is I'm just exploring life. Let's learn together. This is the stuff that I'm learning. This is the stuff I'm feeling, experiencing. What do you opine about it? What do you have to say about it? I am not doing this to get famous. I'm not doing this to impress anybody. I have already impressed myself, okay? The sole fact that I told a friend of mine back in 2016, hey, laugh at me if you want to, but do you think I could make videos? Is that something I should do? And he said, fuck yes, what are you waiting for? I said, I'm doing this. The sole fact that I did this, something unlikely, such as me presenting myself to like the internet, that is a huge achievement for me. For everybody else, it may look little because like I have very little subscribers, but I don't have a subscriber inferiority complex because I know what this means to me in the bigger picture. I am so happy that I can tell people, hey, this question that you asked me, I don't have time to tell you about it verbally right now, but, and I text them a link to a video in which I talked about what they asked me about. And then they're like, oh, I had no idea you made videos. Oh, this was so, I'm so glad that you talked about this because I feel better. It's almost like I was able to spend the time talking to you about it. Da 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 da. That was the whole point of me doing this. A replacement for my journal and sharing ideas. Because unfortunately, my journal is never going to appear on Google. And I'm very happy about that. But I find that my experiences actually have value. So if I can help just one person out there, I feel like my goal with this has been fulfilled, which my journal kept me trapped. It kept me prisoner to my shyness. And I realized that I could be doing so much more for people if I like to think and come up with ideas and discuss things. Why would I not want to be a little more public about it? And yeah, I think that's where some of my motivation comes from to keep doing this. You know, and I don't even get paid for this. I only make a couple of cents every like month or so. Where am I at? All right, guys, I'm going to sort of breeze through the comments because as you can see, it is getting dark and I need to prepare for the rest of my evening. So I'm going to see what you guys said, reply as I go, and then I'm gonna have to bail on you. But it's been nice. Let's see. Um, I'm assuming the guy was a boomer and just wanted the best for you based on his obsolete knowledge that worked for him. I wouldn't be mad at that. Right. Unfortunately, at the time, young person, right? I got immediately upset because this person felt like he was choking me. Like, I know that you mean well. I value education because trust me, my mom is a freaking pedagogue. Like she teaches. But the advice that you're giving me is not very current to our time. So you're actually doing more harm than good. If he had come to me and told me, do you want to go to college? I will foot the bill. Then the story would have been different. But once again, you're being that person telling me, if you don't like it here, don't work here. You're telling me, go to college, but you're not giving me a solution as to how to make that happen. And on top of that, I was fucking bored and tired of school. Sure, college is the real thing, but I was tired of the learning setting. I wanted for life to be my teacher. I wanted to be at the very bottom. What is it like to be at the very bottom of society? As an unemployed person, as an entry level person, as a blue collar worker, I wanted to experience all of those things. Because if I start off at the top and I don't get used to the bottom, when I fall from the top, should that happen to me, will I be able to mentally cope with what it means to sink? Some people cannot do that, you know? And I did not want to be that person. There's one specific family member who I knew that he was in a very good position. He had money. He also happened to be like single or fatherless, whatever. But basically, he had everything. And then he lost it all. And he could not handle life at the bottom. He had no idea how expensive it was to go to the doctor without insurance. He had no idea just how tough life is when you're at the bottom, and have an executable plan for that. I was looking at him, I've always been inferior to him. Like, wow, I've never had. In 1 year, this person made more money than I made in like 3 years. But I said to myself, this person is freaking out, and I'm over here living, my minimalistic, struggling life, but I'm not freaking out like he is, lacking patience. I was so proud of myself because I said, if I were living in his situation, which I have lived through that, first of all, I would not have such a nasty attitude because it's actually not that bad. You just have to be patient, creative, and persistent. And that's when I knew that I truly had built myself up well. At least when it comes to my personality. I can tolerate so much hardship. And that makes me freaking proud. Maybe that's the reason I've been able to, cope with things so well for these past months, where everybody else keeps saying that this is the worst time of their recent memory. And I'm like, why? Why? Certainly not burn the bridge for that. Regardless, you made the right decision. I wish I made that decision. Live and learn. I am happy to be out of debt. Whoever Backyard Demos is, it's bizarre, so I'm gonna skip that. Have you heard about Stoicism? I have, but I always forget what that word means. What does stoic mean again? Anyway, we must take extreme ownership for our lives. That's what it boils down to. You're a black screen now. Do try to tear you down. Something that you said must have hit a nerve. On a daily basis, I always say something that probably hit someone's nerve, and I'm like, I'm not going to feel sorry for that. I always speak to people in the manner that I wish somebody would have spoken to me to avoid a catastrophe. Put it that way. If you get a chance, check out Aaron Clary. If you get a chance in a non-stream video, leave a comment with that person's name so that I can remember. Because unfortunately, I do not have anything to write with right now. Just be warned, he gets dark and will probably relate to your experiences. I would like to hear what you have to say about his content. I love that guy. I remember hearing stuff from a guy who made a video. What was his name? I remember his face, but I don't remember his name. This is my problem. If I remember your face, I don't remember your name. If I remember your name, I don't remember your face. But it was this guy who was very like brutally honest about. He made videos about fat people. He made videos about what he believes about religious people and why he cannot believe in certain things. His channel name was so simple. It was something like truth or brutal truth or realities, or it was this one older guy with some crazy beard, and I think he wore a hat of some sort. But anyway, I thought that his opinions on some videos were really neat. Let's see. Oh my God, she's a teacher. LOL. I have worked in education for a long time. She is delusional. People that cannot do teach anonymous. I never knew what that means until I got older. Now it rings true. Do you know Jordan Peterson? That's not a movie director, is it? I think I'm thinking about another Jordan. I probably don't know. Have you heard of Jordan Peterson? Okay, yeah, you asked the same question again. Oh, I know. I think the person I'm thinking about, his last name is probably Peel. But no, I don't think I've heard of Jordan Peterson. Let me see. Hopefully this won't knock out the stream, but okay. Okay, I needed to check something. No, he doesn't sound familiar. Hold on, I need to do an experiment. This says that. Oh, I just discovered that if I, what is it, scroll down and look at my time or notifications, my stream timer keeps running. Whereas in the past, I guess it's the latest version of the app. In the past, if you would exit out, you needed to wait for the thing to buffer and then the stream would restore. So that's exciting. YouTube making some progress, you know, tech company. Shit. Anyways, well, you guys, it's been a pleasure, but I really need to bail now because I definitely took much longer streaming than I should have. And I really need to grab a nibble because I need to go to the gym at 6 p.m. And I live in one of those places that they have restrictions as to how long you can be out. So I need to like really, really go now. But anyways, I'll be around. I'll try to come back as soon as possible. Thank you all for joining me. Bye.